My wife, 39F, and I, 36, have a daughter, technically my stepdaughter, but I've raised her since she was 5, 19F, from a previous relationship of my wife's. Her father is not in the picture, who has come back home after her first year at uni. She's picked up a new, and problematic, issue since she was last home for an extended period of time, surrounding laundry. Basically, she has established a boundary where nobody is to touch her clothes. Her reasoning is that she's concerned something will go missing/get damaged, thinks it's just gross for us to go through her stuff, and is an adult who deserves privacy. All fine. We have 3 young children in our home, 9F, 9F and 2M, so plenty of washing to keep us entertained. The issue is that she has a habit of monopolizing washing facilities to the extent where we're effectively prevented from being able to get any other laundry done. For example, last weekend she put a wash in before work and hung it out on the line at around 11 a.m. She then left for work, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Her wash was dry within an hour, and obviously she wasn't going to be back all day. We had a few days' worth of washing to get through, so my wife, her mum, took everything off the line and folded it. We got through 5 other loads that day. She was not happy when she got home, and said that she'd been very clear that we weren't to touch her things. When we explained the situation above, she said it was first come, first served, not something we've ever said, and that since the next day was due to be nice also, we should have just waited to get through it the next day. That really pissed us off. We've offered her a weekly laundry day, where we'll avoid using the machines so she can have freedom to do as she pleases on that day, but she said once a week won't cut it. Fair enough, but there are 5 other people in the house that need clean clothes/bedding/towels. Other than that, all we can really suggest is that she keeps on top of her washing. If she's at home, we'll ask her to clear her clothes from the machine/dryer/washing line as needed, but like any 19-year-old she has a social life/work commitments and is often busy. She's upset because she says we're not respecting her boundaries, whereas we've pointed out that while "don't move my clothes" is objectively reasonable, it's not fair for her to do so at the inconvenience of everyone else in our home. Essentially, the last conversation we had ended up with her in tears, because we said as long as situations like Saturday keep occurring, we'll continue to move her stuff. Just FYI, we do fold her clothes carefully, and leave them in a basket in a communal living area so they're kept together, in good condition, and we're not going in and out of her room. We normally have a good relationship with her, so this is all a bit unusual. We've asked her if everything else is okay, and she says yes and seems otherwise normal in and of herself, and she's normally reasonable, so are we being unreasonable? Edit. So the consensus is pretty much that we're right, and our daughter is being massively unreasonable, and that we're being pushovers for not being tougher on her from the off. We've shown her the comments, and unfortunately she's still insisting that we're the unreasonable ones. We'd never considered the local laundromat, and have banned her from using our washing machine for the next fortnight given she's still unwilling to adjust. She's absolutely furious, and wife has ordered a lock for the washroom door to enforce the 2-week rule. Hopefully a couple of weeks hauling her stuff to and from will help her see the light. Thanks very much all. Comment 1. NTA. It is unreasonable for her to expect you to wait around for her to free up the facilities. If she doesn't like the 1 day a week idea, she can take it to a laundrette. Otherwise, if she isn't around to move her washing in a timely way, it will be moved for her. She doesn't get to set boundaries around the use of common facilities in a home she doesn't pay for. Comment 2. Correct. And actually, she likely doesn't get to do this in a home she does pay for, either. She best be looking for a place with its own individual washer/dryer when she moves out, because if she's in an apartment or condo building with communal laundry facilities and tries this, she's going to routinely find her wet clothes dumped on a table and a lol, no, WTF are you even on? Reading her when she complains. Comment 3. I hate the weaponization of psychiatric terms. Not everything you don't like hearing is a trigger, and not everything you don't like happening is a boundary. She doesn't like you touching her clothes. Fair enough. You don't like her leaving her stuff blocking laundry. Also fair enough. But framing as a violation of her boundary, She's made it as a borderline assault. You can't negotiate from there, and your reasonable needs make you wonder if you are TA. You are NTA. I, 34F, have a difficult relationship with my mother. She had me when she was 17 and was addicted to various substances when I was growing up. She'd leave me with whoever would watch me for days on end, and I'd end up mostly raising myself. I left home at 16 and couch surfed with various friends until I was able to get my own place. At 25 I met my now husband and we got married 3 years later. His family is the polar opposite of mine and are incredible, so loving and warm. I honestly consider his parents mine and call them mum and dad. They also happen to be quite well off, but that isn't something I care about. I mention it because it matters to the story. Last year my mother reached out to me after a decade of not speaking to her, wanting to reconnect and introduce me to my little sister who was 2 years old. I was confused as I hadn't even known she'd been pregnant, but it seems she'd been a change of life baby. I thought maybe she'd turned over a new leaf, and if not, I wanted to make sure the kid was okay. At first it seemed like things had changed and she was trying. This illusion lasted for the first few visits over 6 months, then she broke down, told me she couldn't do this, and asked me to take my sister. My husband and I had a long talk about it. We'd been struggling with fertility and had been considering adoption anyway. We told her if we were doing this, we were doing it right, and we had his family's lawyer ensure it was a legal adoption and airtight, which took several months. My in-laws adore her and consider her their granddaughter. They've even set up a trust fund for her. We have allowed my mother one supervised visit per month, so she's not totally cut off from my sister. It was during these visits things went badly, as she saw how she was dressed and the toys she had, and realized they were expensive. She began to rip into us for hiding the fact we have money and how if we'd just given her money she'd have not given us my sister, as she could have taken care of her better. I told her while we have some money, it's mostly my husband's parents' money, not ours, so she had no right to know about it. Also that I wouldn't have given her money anyway as I didn't trust her. She broke down, calling me a selfish bitch who'd never considered how hard things were for her. I now feel some guilt. My husband has told me if I want to make me feel better he'll give her money, but that seems like a bad idea, as she'd likely use it badly or blow through it then expect more. Despite this though, I do feel bad. Maybe I should have tried to help her more now my luck is better, or maybe I should have been honest with her. Comment 1. NTA. And now just stop it. You are dealing with an addict whose reaction isn't "my daughter is safe and being raised in a healthy environment," but is saying "you could have given me money and helped me." She realized she misplayed her hand with you. She reached out to you to pawn off her responsibilities to her child, not to reconnect. She was going to do it if you had money or not. She got off the gravy train too early and regrets it. Focus on your family and happiness. She'll bleed you dry. I'm sorry and hope I'm wrong, but I've seen and lived this. Comment 2. NTA. Doing the math, your mom had a second baby at age 49, and she's now 53. She's more than old enough to have figured out how to support herself. Let her continue to take care of herself, and focus on your daughter. If you do feel worried about your mom's future, you could set aside money in an account. Don't tell her you're doing this, for when she's elderly and may be unable to support herself any longer. That would be the time to consider helping her. Comment 3. So you were selfish yet are raising her baby? That's ridiculous. I suggest you create some boundaries with your mother. That she not be able to berate and abuse you, or she will not see her daughter. It's not good for your sister to be around someone being rude to you. Stand up for yourself. My wife and I have 2 kids, 6 and 3, and my wife has 2 siblings. 1 brother, living in Cali and soon to be married later this summer, 1 sister, married with 3 kids all under 10, and both her parents, still married. We are pretty close with my wife's family, spend a lot of time with them, and all the kid cousins get along super well. I have a very good relationship with everyone. The brother is getting married later this summer in Southern California. The rest of the family, including us, live in the Midwest. We've planned a big 7-night family vacation down to SoCal for the wedding. I proposed that our family, 4 of us, plus my sister-in-law's family, 2 adults, 3 kids, and my wife's parents, 2 adults, rent a house for the 7 nights we will be in SoCal. My reasons were: more space for everybody instead of living out of a suitcase in a hotel for 7 nights. Have a kitchen available to cook and eat together instead of eating out for every single meal. My son has a severe anaphylactic allergy to nuts, so eating out can often be stressful for us as a family. Initially everyone was on board. I estimated that renting a large enough house, via Airbnb, would be approx $300/night per family unit, so $900/night split 3 ways. There are cheaper ones, but they would be too far from the wedding venue. My sister-in-law and my parent-in-law learned that hotel rooms are available for approx $150/night. They've now bailed on the house idea and have reserved hotel rooms. It's their money, and I understand renting a house is a lot of money to pay above the hotel rates. I have no issue with them changing their mind. My wife and I still want to stay in a house, mainly for access to a full kitchen, so we booked an Airbnb. The smaller house will cost us about $350/night. So we'll be spending about $350 more than planned, $50 by 7 nights. We've booked the Airbnb and the free cancellation period has now expired. We can't cancel without losing money. When my wife's family learned that we booked an Airbnb, they said, "Oh great. We can come to your house to cook food." I said, "No. If you wanted to cook, then you should have reserved a house with us, not make us pay the extra for accommodations with a kitchen and then take advantage of that. If you want to use the kitchen, cover the extra $50/night we have to pay and then you can use it." They say I'm being unreasonable and greedy. The dollar figures are not the real numbers, but they get the story across. Comment 1. NTA. It's not even about the cooking, it's about privacy and personal space. You can't just invite yourself to someone's house/hotel room. It's one thing to share a big space with your extended family, it's a completely different thing to cram 10 people into a small place just because grandpa wants to cook himself some eggs. If anything, I wouldn't have put a price tag on it, I'd just say the place was too small to have people over. Comment 2. YTA. It seems like a really petty thing to do, honestly. It's completely understandable they want to save literally half the money. It doesn't hurt you for them to use the kitchen, your ego was hurt, and you're trying to stick it to them. Thankfully, my family is more loving than this. I would see it as an opportunity to spend more time together and not hold that hostage from them for not wanting to spend twice what they need to. Comment 3. YTA. If you're on good terms with travel companions, you share your shit. Being the one who has some nice amenity to share is a blessing. There's absolutely no need to retaliate for them changing plans with a hard prohibition against anyone else using your temporary kitchen facilities. I'm not saying you need an open-door policy so they can cook whatever they want whenever they want. There's also a such thing as someone taking advantage of your generosity, but until that happens, some generosity is only polite. I 30F am estranged from my dad John. He had an affair when I was 9 and kicked me and my mom out the house when his girlfriend got pregnant with my half-sister Jade 21F. My mom fell apart after the divorce and became an alcoholic. She was declared an unfit parent when I was 11, and I lived with my aunt and cousins. John emailed me that Jade's mom didn't want me around, so I couldn't live with him, and that was the last time we spoke. John emailed me last year and told me he was terminally ill and he regrets not being there for me. He wanted to make amends and see me before he passed. I replied declined, and as he kept emailing, I blocked him. His lawyer reached out and informed me that my dad had passed and left me his house that I lived in up until I was 9. The house is far from me, and I decided I wanted to sell it. I won't live in it. I have a lot of student debt and I could use the money to buy a nicer place in my area. I listed it with a realtor, and Jade reached out after seeing the listing. I have never spoken to Jade before and didn't know her name until she found me on social media. She messaged me to introduce herself and say that her Her mom and John lived in that house when she was growing up and she wanted to buy her childhood home from me. She offered under the listing price and said she was sentimentally attached to the house. I declined her offer as I had other offers that were above what she offered, and told her if she would match the highest offer I could sell it to her instead. Jade said that she can't match the highest bid and her mom has also passed, so that house is the last memory she has of her parents. I felt like she was guilt-tripping me into accepting her low offer, so I told her to speak to my realtor and not me regarding the house. I don't think it is my problem and I don't want to get involved. Comment 1. NTA. This is a business transaction. It's unfortunate that she isn't able to submit a competitive bid, but that's also the housing market right now. Her backstory has zero impact on your decision. Even if you were both super close, this would still be a business transaction. Hold your ground, let your realtor deal with her, and take care of yourself. If you do want to decide that the backstory is more important than the business side of things right now, then still hold your ground. Your dad wanted to make things right with you. He did that as best he could by giving you this house. He had the chance to give the house to her. He took care of her in other ways. So even if you want to give high importance to the past, it still is 100% in support of you selling to the highest bidder and putting yourself in a better financial position. Comment 2. NTA. Would she have done it for you if you were in her position? Not to sound vindictive, but as someone who also grew up in a split family situation, I can't imagine how offended I would be if my estranged sibling tried to do this to me. Prioritize yourself so you can live a life your younger self would want you to live. Make the most of what you have going forward, and don't look back even if someone is asking you to.